psychologically understood that. But he was a man who, one day pitched up at his father's house in Dublin. It was snowing, impossible weather. His father said to him, why did you come visit us in the snow? You know, possible weather, snow and ice. So the man said, proof, he gave a beautiful proof. He said, I'll tell you a proof, I remember. The bottom line was he said, he's coming out of the weather like this, I just want to see proof that it's worse at home. But he had a nice proof for it. Anyway. Right, the run, yeah?
Possibly numbered. Not numbered.
Okay, Lamed. Drashot Haran, page Lamed, second Rosh. Omnam, Hasiba Hativit Asher Chiva Achizat HaAkev, Lo De'ah. We're talking about Yaakov holding the heel of Esau, right? And he's asking here, what's the natural reason? What would make a baby hold onto the heel of another baby? That is not a natural thing. So what is the natural cause? I don't know. I may not be able to explain to you why he was holding his brothers. He told you. There's the reason that Yaakov was holding Esau's heel was to assure you. Where does all this? Let me just recap a moment. He's been telling us an incredible principle. The principle is a long discussion about the fact that when a prophecy in the world is accompanied by an action, it becomes immutable. Remember that. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go back to our subject, Yaakov and Esau. With Yaakov and Esau, there's a prophecy that in the end of days, we will take over from Esau, right? The last exile of Edom will take over, and the Malchus will come back to us. It's accompanied by a sign. Yaakov is born holding the heel of Esau. It's not just an idea in the world, there's a physical manifestation on this, right? What's the natural reason that a baby will hold the heel of another baby? No, there's no natural reason. It's not normal. The child doesn't have that strength. Now he says, let's go to the next step. So in other words, the bottom line of this is that the prophecy that at the end of days, when Esau is up and we are down, when we are up, he's down, at the end there will be a redressing of that situation and we'll take over the mouths again. You can rest assured that even though prophecies for the good can be changed, as he told us, under certain circumstances, but they cannot be changed when there's a physical siman in the world. And the siman here was that when she was told that she'd have 2 children in the womb, it would be this battle, and eventually we will have the Malchus, there was a sign that when the children were born, although we are not in control, we're born second, we only come after him, but we're holding onto his heel, guaranteeing that that will take place. Now, what's the natural reason that they battled each other in the womb? The spiritual reason, like the spiritual reason for holding his heel, we know. But what's the natural reason? Why would 2 babies who are twins, born from the same conception, as he put it before, under the same muzzle, why would they be opposed to each other? Right? Because each one's intrinsic nature is opposite to his friend. But I have to tell you that the fact that they are opposite to each other, polar opposites in terms of their being, is miraculous. Hashem does not want them to be matching each other, so to speak, in other words, equivalent, for the reasons I've said. He wants them to be opposite. Each aspect of each one's personality is opposite of his friends. Esau was a person who intrinsically was a hunter, and a man of strategy, right? A hunter who's scheming and strategizing. Rabbi Avram. a person who is a hunter by strategy, that's his nature, right? A tracker, a hunter, etc. The ish sadeh is like a man of the field, or hevlanua, he likes to move. So he's a restless, in medicine they call this a type A personality, right? The type A, restless, pacing, right? Constantly hyped up, hyperactive. V'Yaakov haya b'shtei hatkunot behepech. And Yaakov was exactly opposite, haya ish tam. He was not a strategizing individual, he was a straight type. He did not think in scheming ways, strategizing, right? Schemes. This doesn't have to be bad, by the way. You can be a schemer for the good. It's a person whose mind works in a complicated way. And you can be a straightforward person who just says things as they are. Only is a straight person, right? Beautiful personalities. And secondly, lo lumad tachbula va'orma, not a person schooled in strategy and deviousness, the negative side. Kamoshi katav Rashi, like Rashi says, Zichron Livrocha, v'yoshev ohali v'lo hev lanua. And is also a person who likes to stay home and not a person who likes to move. So you've got two different people.
But Rabbi, he came and took the bracha be'orma.
He also did with the Nikudim.
That's right. So you have to see that when it was necessary to use Esav's tools, he used them. Rabbi Dessler says the reason that he needed to take Esav's blessings using strategy that Esav normally uses is because in the end of history, evil can only be destroyed by using its own tools. You can only destroy a thing genuinely by using its own power against it. Right? Let me explain one, and therefore, just one. There's two ways to win a battle. Rabbi Shapir used to put this very classically. One way is to beat the opposition down, prove that he's wrong. There's a much more effective way to win a battle when he himself admits that he's wrong. The difference is if I beat someone into submission, I've won because I've asserted myself. He doesn't. He still objects. He's still battling, kicking and screaming. Right? Just I'm stronger. The much more effective battle, much more effective victory is where I don't do anything. He admits that he's wrong and he comes onto my side. That's total victory.
But how can you use something which you do not have yourself? You must have an element of orma within him to actually use it.
Why not? You can use it. He uses it from an external position. I'll give you an example. A Jewish children should be trained to be absolutely simplistically pure, totally naively loving and pure, in a shell of very shrewd defense. You're a sabra, aren't you? That's exactly what a sabra is supposed to be. Soft and sweet inside, very spiky on the outside. That's what it's supposed to be. And the Jew's supposed to be like that. In other words, loving and trusting in the inner circle of his trusted relationships, and very defensive. If you bring up a child to be naively pure and simple and loving, they'll be eaten alive. So the child has to be like that genuinely, but he has to be very strategic. And Yaakov teaches you how to be a man of truth and simplicity and straightness inside. But when you're dealing with the loved one, you have to deal with the loved one, right? But the difference is that's external to the personality. Here's a grossness, right? Rabbi grossness.
I'm not a rabbi.
Well, the rabbi grossness that I'm referring to was the Dayan. He was your uncle. He was a great figure on the London Base in the last generation. His son told me, his oldest son was Rosh Kol. He told me there were times when his father would be insulted by people as having a devious mind. Why? He was a great sage. I actually met him once. I had the privilege of speaking to him once. I traveled with him once. And he was a Dayan in the Base. So a couple people would come in for some divorce proceedings, let's say. And you have to find out what's going on. So they would come in thinking they'd pull the wool over the rabbi's eyes. He's a rabbi, he's pure, saintly, naive individual. What does he know about adulterous relationships and so forth and so on? Then I split him a story with one or two well-placed questions. He would explode the whole situation. He said, Rabbi, you've got a twisted mind. How did you think of that? And the answer is, to be a pure individual doesn't mean the Torah, which is a book of purity, is full of all the devious. You won't find a more purple, lurid book than the Tanakh. You think of any perversion, it's right here in the Bible. The only difference is the value. A kid learns through the Bible. People used to say to me, Rabbi, you bring up your children in an isolated environment in Israel, right? Today there's no isolated environments, but that time, before cell phones and stuff, you could bring your children in a pure environment, and you give them this pure, naive, religious approach to the world. How will they function when they get out on the street? They're going to see things that will shock them. They're going to get into society that's completely immoral. They'll be completely shocked. They'll go to pieces.
I mean,
the truth is,
you use a mashal of Krav Maga, I think that's it. But if you have to interface with this kind of environment, and successfully interface, at some stage it also sticks.
Sure, it's dangerous. Of course you can. That's why you take as little as possible. But I'll come to that in a moment. So the answer to that question is that children grow up in the religious world, with a naive, Puritan religious world, studying only Torah. They've come across every perversion imaginable. Every perversion imaginable, to let alone the Gemara. Yeah, the Torah is nothing compared to the Gemara. Here's a little 14-year-old boy in yeshiva. He's studying bestiality, people having relations with animals. I mean, in hairy detail. But amazing. This religious kid who's been through religious education, he's seen it all. The only difference is he knows what's right and wrong. The kid in the secular world, he's seen some pictures on a street corner of somebody who knows what they're showing him. The religious kid has a thorough education in the whole array of all immorality possible. True, you use language that's appropriate. When he's 6 years old, you don't say, when a 6-year-old learning Torah, you say he married a donkey, or a cow. You don't, you use appropriate language. But the kid learns it all, right? So, I'm not saying it's not a temptation when he gets out there, but, so the Dayan told me, so he told me, so he was involved, and his son told me there were times when being religious doesn't mean that you're foolish and naive. The Torah teaches you about a Yaakov being a Yaakov, and it teaches you about a Yaakov dealing with the law. And if you're dealing with the law, then you have to protect yourself. And he said to his wives, if he wants to cheat me, I can be as big a cheat as him. Legitimate cheat, in other words, using permitted. You want to outsmart me, I'll outsmart him. What did he do with the sheep? Nothing illegal. He told him, I'll take the spotted ones. Then he made sure that he was paid correctly with spotted sheep. He knew how to make spotted sheep. So Laban changed it, said, change it again. But he worked for all those years, he deserved his pay. It's like the Jews getting all the wealth of Egypt. It was only the pay that is due to them for the hundreds of years that they served, right? So, this Dayan Grossman story, his son told me that when he was 12 years old, he was born in Germany. He wanted to learn in where?
Borgberg or
yes. Yes. And where was that? Miles and miles away. He was in Germany, 12 years old, and his mother let him walk across Europe.
At a young age, he was 12
years old. 12 years old, can you imagine? He was so fired up about learning. He wanted to do one of the great Lithuanian yeshivas. He persuaded his mother, can you imagine those days? She didn't buy him a first class ticket and put him on the train to get to, across Europe in must have been born about 1900 or... He must have been born around there. And you're talking about, or maybe it was after the First World War. They were incredibly dangerous. And he said that when he arrived in the yeshiva, he went to see the Rosh Yeshiva and he said, I've come to learn. And he said, no, don't leave, you're too young. You can't learn you. He just walked across Europe. He said he started crying. So Rosh Yeshiva said, well, what are you crying for? So he explains. He said, I'm going to give you a test. And he was so underage and so overawed by the boys. They called him the wrong name. Do you know that? His name was Yehuda Leib, and they called him Aryeh Leib. And he was too ashamed to tell them it wasn't his real name. They got his name wrong. Can you understand this? A little boy, 12 years old, among the big boys in the yeshiva. and he was a genius at learning. He was too ashamed when they called him Aryeh Leib instead of Yehuda Leib. He was too ashamed. Only much later in his life, he told the family what his real name was.
His safe is called Aryeh Leib.
Yes. And you know how he did bar mitzvah? He was too ashamed to tell them he wasn't even 13. So on the day of his bar mitzvah, on the Shabbos of his bar mitzvah, he walked across the village to the town, to a shul that he never went to, and asked for Maliyah. That was his bar mitzvah. He didn't have chopped herring and chopped liver and his mother, giving him, guests coming, giving him 100 gold pens.
After the war, he helped with the Rosh Hashem of North Africa.
He became a great guy. He always had a bit of a German accent. He wrote an amazing book. He's got amazing chivas in his childhood. There was a dedication to learning Torah. Anyway, this was the person who from age 12 was learning yeshiva, the most amazing. And people accused him, Rabbi, how could you think of such twisted things? So the Torah teaches you twisted things. Doesn't have to make you twisted. So the Chazon Ish once told one of his agents to go and meet somebody in the Knesset, and he told him what devious road to take. And on that devious road, he found that fellow avoiding him. He found this character avoiding him. The Chazon Ish knew that he'd avoid him, and he knew which alleys he would take.
We hid in the cupboard on the bed in the Chofsheim and Wasserman speaking. I found out the rest of the details.
Yeah, did what?
He hid in the room when...
To hear them?
To hear Chon Wasserman and Chofsheim discussing this.
Anyway, so today we don't have that already. Gamma Maasim Asher Hayu B'Neim. Oh, yeah, okay.
So one of the things that people that were used to destroy Israel today, so to speak, was their own strength. So what they would agree to Torah. What's the... Saying one way is to beat them with strength, the other way is for them to agree.
I don't know. No. It means in the end they will acknowledge the truth. No, that's clear. It means in the end we will be victorious, not because we beat them into submission in a war. In the end of the war, although it may take such a battle, at the end, right, all the Novi says they will flock to Yerushalayim to honor Torah and beg to have some part in it. Like in Shlomo Melech's day, when all the kings and queens of the world came to give tribute, and the queens wanted to marry him, right? Like the Queen of Sheba and so on. So
that will happen the same.
Yes, of course. The final victory in the world is not where the evil will be subdued, grinding and gnashing their teeth. The final victory in the world is called Ro Kol Basar Yachdav, where all flesh will see that it's Hashem speaking. Of course, that's the final victory of Malchus Shamayim is not going to be when you keep them in cages. It's going to be where they will willingly serve. Of course, that has to be there. That's the real victory.
Would you say
when you beat somebody down who's objective, right? You've proved that you're right. You haven't proved that he's wrong. He still maintains his position. It's only when he admits that he's wrong.
But how did all the other three goes end? They ended like this? Yeah, the four. They ended the last one.
Each one took over the Malchus from the previous one. And in the end, it will be taken over from Esav too, the Malchus.
So why don't we taken over like it was taken over then?
Hanukkah was a time when we took over. The Kohanim took over the Malchus from the Greeks very successfully, incredible opportunity. Unfortunately, they held on too long. So Rambam said they made that mistake, and eventually they lost because they tried to hold on too long. And that's why Yishmael is not counted as a Golos, says the Maharal, because they didn't take the Malchus away from us. They just came in from the outside with brutality.
So that according to what Rabbi Tatz just said, that Adam has all the last three joined in with it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So he's a Koilo, it's called. Yes, it's true as well. And not only that, if you look at what happened between them, they were designed to cause friction and hatred. Rabbi Shomah, first of all, Asher lakach Yaakov b'choiras Esav, v'inyan zarmoed tzar yishuv. Let's look at the first example. He takes away the firstborn status from him, or the birthright, in a way that is very peculiar, as you've all been saying, right? Manipulating and cheating and wearing his clothes and pretending to be him. Very weird. He's not the firstborn, and he goes in and pretends to be the firstborn. This is a very weird... So the first point the Ram makes is that's the sort of thing that's guaranteed to make friction. How do you think Esav's going to respond when he comes home and finds out that his brother's taken his... Right? He's not the kind of person who will realize, oh yeah, I sold it to him. It's actually his. Remember that pot of soup? Esav's going to say, what has he done? So that's the first thing, which raises 2 points. Point 1, it explains another reason why there will be incredible friction between these two personalities. And secondly, it raises the point, you'll need to explain this. How will you explain Yaakov's devious behavior? How could this fit into the personality of a Yaakov, who is a perfectly pure individual? Never mind cheating with his father. How could he suggest such a sale? How can he take advantage of his brother like that? His brother comes in, he sees his vulnerability, and he makes a deal with him. This incredibly unfair deal. You're taking away the birthright. What could be more valuable than that? And what are you selling it to him for? You know what this is reminiscent of? The guy finds a Picasso in somebody's attic, and he tells him, "Oh, this is just an old child's sketch. This is worth $5." Meantime, he knows what it is. Yeah, just got sold for 640 million, 540 million, right? They just sold the painting, 540 million. So you tell the fellow it's an old, incompetent sketch. Pay him $5. You got to sell it for 500 million. That's what he did. And those proportions are nothing compared to what the Bechir. He told Esav, I'll give you a pot of soup. You're hungry? A pot of soup. and he gets the Bechira from him. You call that a straight individual? By the way, there's a Shittit Chazal that he paid him richly for it. The soup was only part of the deal. There are two opinions in Rishonim. One opinion is that he sold it for him with a pot of soup. The other is that was just to sweeten the deal. You know, like you take him out for lunch. That's what he did, took him out for lunch. Over the lunch, they struck a deal for a lot of money. Right? Because, of course, Yaakov did that according to that opinion. He didn't want to be accused of an invalid sale. Yaakov, Avram Avinu paid a fortune for the field.
400, yeah.
Of course, he paid a fortune. So Yaakov's not going to hope to get away with this according to this.
And we are still paying.
Yes. Well, at least we got Trump behind us. At least we got him behind us. He says, right.
Is that a blessing or a curse?
Huh?
Is that a blessing or a curse?
Yes. So the point is, there is a shitta that he gave him the pot of soup, but of course he sold it for a fair deal. But there's opinion that he didn't. But anyway, I think even the opinion that says he paid a lot of money also agrees that he sweetened the deal with the lunch, and that was very significant, and that's not a straightforward person's way of behaving. That's the first question, right? He says, so you got to answer this. Ukfar koilel zeh ha'maaseh temiyud rabot. And if you think about it, this deal that Yaakov and Esau has many surprising elements. Rishon first, ki en b'chok ha'shalem yitein einav b'ma she'enu shalom. First of all, why was he craving that wasn't his? Hashem knows what he's doing, my friend. He made you born as the second child. You are not the firstborn. If Hashem wants you to be the firstborn, he'll make you firstborn. So what are you craving? You're craving your brother's, to say to your friend, Michrad nachalat chali. What kind of a normal person goes to a person and says, sell your inheritance to me? Excuse me, it's your family, it's your right. You're born into it, right? What normal person will go? What even secondborn will go to the firstborn and say, I want to buy your inheritance for whatever price? Hashem knows what he's doing. If you're a trusting, pure, simple individual, what are you manipulating Esau's reality? V'shenit, secondly, Eich yonehu lakachas mimenu b'chera nichbedet b'mechir bazui v'shasui. And secondly, how will you cheat him? Hona'ah, cheating. Are you going to cheat your brother to take from him such an awesomely valuable thing like a birthright for such an embarrassing price? Mechir bazui v'shasui, right? I don't know how you translate shasui, but it means despicable, right? Very lonely, very, very, very embarrassing price. If Esau would agree to this because of his foolishness, what kind of brother are you? If you can cheat someone into a deal because he's foolish and he agrees to a deal that's completely wrong in value, what kind of straightforward person are you? It's your obligation to tell him. Talk about ona'ah means business cheating, right? Psychological business pressure. I don't know how you translate it in English. Translation would be taking advantage. What's ona'ah?
Some kind of cheating.
Cheating. How can you cheat like this? You cannot find words for this, the distortion of value. You're not getting a 10% discount. You're talking about an infinite fortune, right, for all the generations, and you sold it for a plate of soup. I mean, what kind of proportion is that? If he was a straightforward person, you want to do a deal, give a fair price. Tell the seller what he's giving out. And if you want to claim to me that the value of a firstborn is not valued in monetary terms at all, but one second, this thing when the Torah gives a firstborn double portion, right? This is something that's a chiddush of the Torah. This was never the practice before. If you want to tell me that it's not a financial cheating, we're not talking about, the Ran is telling you like this. If you come to your older brother and your father was very wealthy and there's a genuine or a brother and there's an inheritance and you want to buy your brother's inheritance, right, for a pittance and cheat him out of it, that's highly immoral. But what if the inheritance of the father is only dignity? It's only a spiritual. He says that the fact that the firstborn inherits double as much as the second, and you cheat him out of the birthright, which means you'll get double the value. You could talk about that. But that's a chiddush that the Torah made later. Right? So let's talk about a situation where the firstborn, the birthright, is only a question of what do you call it, symbolic value. In other words, what do you say in English?
It was like the coin in those days, wasn't it?
Yes, like he's the status. It's a status question. It's not going to cheat him out of any value, financial. It's only a question of a position. If that's the question, even that it's not appropriate. Let's say it's a question of dignity, leadership, position, title. That's all it is, right? He's going to be called sir, whatever it is. It still doesn't make any sense to cheat him out of that. Right? Again, even if you're not cheating him financially, let's argue it's only who's called the firstborn, who takes the name of the father, right, etc. Still doesn't make any sense to cheat him out of that. You see, he mentions this. If you assume, like those opinions who hold, that the price was not a pottage of soup, Aval kesef rav ke'erka, Rashban, Radak, Chizkuni. You see that? He quotes you three opinions, Rashban, Radak, and Chizkuni, who all tell you that Yaakov, there's no way in the world he could have taken this thing from Esau without due payment. And they say he paid a full value. Whatever the value was, he paid full value. Adain yikshe, haseh devar galgal asher bois galgal, devar mechirat abachora. I still have a problem. Let's say he did pay the full value. Whatever the value might have been. I still have a problem. He did it in a twisted way. Ki im haya Yaakov noten einav ba. If Yaakov craved the firstborn birthright of his brother, then do it openly. Get the agent, your broker, right, to make a proper deal and pay completely in an open fashion. You deal with him when he's starving. Your brother walks in, right? He's vulnerable. He's starving. And then you take advantage and you swing the whole deal in a psychologically, manipulative fashion. And very, very biting words, he says here. And Yaakov uses in manipulation, right? Even could be that. The punch in his words is, how could Yaakov use, and here he uses the word hunting, right? Yeah. He uses the strategic hunting skills to take it from his brother. Whoa, exactly. Yeah, you just accused him of being all of that, and now you use those tools to take his value from him. However you cut this, right? And of course, this is how non-Jews read the Torah. When non-Jews read the Torah, they think Esau's a tragic figure. Tragic figure, cheated by his brother. His firstborn, his brother takes advantage of his hunger and his vulnerability, and this is a Jew. This is a Jew. Yaakov's the father of all Jews. Esau's the father of all non-Jews. Look how they treat us. These manipulative Jews, right? He got infinite value from his brother, and he managed to swing it for a plate of soup. And so you're dealing with the Jews. That's how they read it. If you take a survey of Jews, you ask who's the most tragic figure in that Torah, many of them answer Esau. By the way, don't forget, we brought up as Jews. We know that Esau is as bad as it gets. But that's because we've learned the Midrashim. That's because we learned all the Midrashim of how bad he was. The Midrash says that he murdered and he did immorality and idolatry. It doesn't say that in the Bible. The Goyim don't have the Midrashim. They don't have the Midrashim. So they have these struggling in the womb. Okay, tension between one and the other. He was a hunter and he sat in tents. All right, doesn't mean he's a bad guy, right? He's the one who honors his father. He brings him food, and the father wants. And then this younger brother comes, and it openly says in the Torah that he was very tired and very hungry, and he swings the deal for a plate of soup. I mean, how does it read to non-Jewish eyes?
But that would also say that he didn't care about it.
What? Yes.
It also says that. So
Yeah.
it shows.
Yes. Nevertheless, I'm not saying that their reading is justified. I'm just saying that you must, when you want to see how they see the Torah, you can't bring all your childhood education and midrashim, and you got to,
How do you answer them?
Unless you have Torah Sheba'al Peh, you can't. Unless you have the inside of Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Torah says that Nimrod, right? Nimrod was bad news. The Torah says he was a great man, he offered sacrifices to Hashem. That says the Torah. So,
You can do Bashkem as well. They tricked them into this milah, they killed them in the weeks.
That's right. Unless you have Torah Sheba'al Peh, Torah doesn't begin. You can't start explaining this to a non-Jew who's got anti-Semitic biases. Torah is what the Torah Sheba'al Peh means. Of course, if he's open and you show him how Torah Sheba'al Peh finds its clues in the text, Torah Sheba'al Peh doesn't lay it on top of the text, right? It will show you these unnecessary words. Why does it use this word? The whole point of Torah Sheba'al Peh is to construct a reality from the words of Torah. Of course, you don't lay it on top of any midrash has to find its textual basis. And once a person's open to that and sees how it operates, but if you don't have that mechanism, you could be a Christian and have the Bible, you could be a Muslim and have the Bible, they do. Anyway, the point is that...
The Quran, they're only Torah Sheba'al, not interested in that.
So read the Torah our way, with all the benefits of all your interpretations. It's very peculiar. He says Yaakov's behavior needs understanding. What would you expect from Yaakov? Hashem, I'm a straightforward individual. You've done things this way, it's your problem. Start cheating, you wear his clothes and pretend to be him and feed him as if it's what are you doing? What are you doing? You be straightforward with Hashem. Tamim tiyeh. God is straightforward. Hashem, you don't want him to have the Bechera? So you there was a prophecy. Hashem told his mother, do it this way.
That's part of it, no?
What?
That's all part of it. If you go straight till you get shown.
Hashem, what are you doing to me? I'm an ish tana. I said, look, Torah, you want me to start behaving like him?
But it's far...
How would you respond if Yaakov would say to his mother, Mom, keep it to yourself, that's not for me. Yaakov agrees, you're going to disguise himself. Can you imagine? Disguise himself like his brother and claim, I mean, what are you... That certainly needs explanation. Let's see what he says.
How do you also respond to people who have a problem with Torah being prophecy, but they think it was divinely inspired, but written by human beings?
First, when you deal with people who are detractors, the first thing you have to know is, are they asking sincerely or they're attacking? If they're attacking, you won't be able to answer. If they're asking sincerely, but they've got problems and issues and skepticism, then you say, we can answer, and that will take some preparation. And you have to lead them. But again, unless they're sincerely asking, you have to hear whether the question is an attack or is it a
question.
Yeah, is it a question? That's the first question. If they're asking genuinely, they're open. Now you have to have wisdom how you take them through the process. You don't start with the thing that's difficult, you start with something else till they acquire the tools.
So his question isn't whether it's a good sale or not. The question is more how could Yaakov use these uncharacteristic strategies.
He's asking at many levels. First of all, assuming it was a crooked sale out of proportion, that's the first question. Even if you say it was not a value, only honor, it's still a problem. Even if you say he paid full value beyond the meal, it still seems ridiculous.
You're saying maybe even it's not a good sale, like on the first level. Like if you only use soup and you can use products.
No, I don't think so.
So it's a good sale on
Yes, but it's certainly called business distorted practices. I mean, the guy who buys the Picasso for $5. Yes, it could be. No, it could be in it as well. I don't know. I don't think you have to fuss about that point. It just makes it worse. Umashi, of course, yeah. See, if it turns out that Esav understands what the Bechor is and it's worthless to him, that's not a good person.
Which is probably what happened.
I'm just saying, if the guy sells the painting for $5 and it is worth, $500,000 is worthless to him. I don't know, you have to come up with some situation where what's being sold is actually worthless. The price you're giving him is something that's meaningless to him. If Esav doesn't understand that being a Bechor is totally valueless to him, it's worth less than a plate of soup.
And then what given him is a good value.
That's
and
right.
What's how we perceive it.
Indeed. Because there are things in the world that have relative value. Right? There are things in the world that have. On the contrary, there's some things that are valued to one person that other people run a mile from. Right?
Bitcoins.
Big time, what?
Bitcoin.
Oh, I'll take a few of those. No, there's things that are immoral or that some people would run from and others consider their value. You see that all the time, right? Gold Ferraris. What will answer this question? Our sages tell us in the Gemara, let's go into the background. That day Avram died. When Esau walked in hungry, right? Yaakov was cooking a sudas havro. Havro means a meal that you cook to feed a mourner, right? Like lentils, eggs, whatever it is. Ubishel Yaakov adashim lahavreis ha'avel. And Yaakov was cooking for his grandfather, his father, right, who had lost his father. He was cooking him a meal, which is the traditional meal, adashim, right, lentils, or we have chickpeas, let's say, right, Shalom Zohar, also the cycle of life. We are having things like that. And it was a meal that he was going to feed the mourner. But Esav lefi hanire lo haya betirat Abraham klal. It seems that Esav wasn't even part of the death of Abraham. He was out doing his business, right? He wasn't part of that. He didn't come to the funeral. Lo dam eno. He didn't cry about it. Le moto. Didn't cry about the passing of Abraham, his grandfather. But lo nishbar libo la avel Yitzchak. And he didn't feel broken-hearted about his father's mourning. Again, his grandfather dies, and his father is mourning for the funeral of his father. And the grandson, Esav, is out hunting. And according to the Midrash, knocking over women, and doing immorality, hunting, killing people, idolatry, killed Nimrod then.
Nimrod then. Yeah,
Killed
so
Nimrod.
So what happened to his famous Kibbutz?
was it pretense?
No, it was not pretense.
Be honest. Be honest.
Big one.
Your question is, why was he not honoring his father by participating in his mourning? That's a good question. You know?
That was really asked questions to pretend that he's
No, but he wore special clothes to feed him.
Yes.
He wore special clothes. It could be that you're telling me an illicit motivation underlying it.
I don't think so. It sounded
I
genuine.
don't think so. The Gemara says we actually learn from him.
Yeah. So one of the tanas of the Tsar, no?
Yeah. You don't have to make Esav evil across the board in everything, by the way. You don't have to say Esav lacks every possibility of every good midah. Okay, that needs further thought, but the point is, that's what he seemed to be doing. Aval baz alehem kechaser lev bozeh drachav. But he was actually completely offhand about it, baz alehem, despising all of that, like somebody of cold heart, chasar lev, somebody who has no feeling, bozeh drachav, who is his ways of humiliation, is no refinement in his behavior. He was in the field, mitasek beshig onotav. He was in the field, behaving with his customary crazes, foolishness, whatever word you want to use, insanities. Gam ka'asher kara mikreo lavo el habayit, and even when by chance he happened to come home, umatza Yaakov misasek b'havra'at aviv. And he happens to find Yaakov, who is engaged in a mitzvah of comforting his father with a meal. Velo has-heseiv eleha kamishpat lanud unanah. He did not even then adopt the refinement of going into comfort to Nichum Avelim. Aval amar kederech zololim, but he spoke in the way of people of complete abandonment. Right? Zolel means somebody who just tramples on any value. Hal itenina, pour this food into my mouth. The way you speak about feeding camels.
Doesn't Zolel somebody who eats?
Zolel was sovel. Yeah, but it means Zolel means to eat it with abandon and no value. Kloma, I like to say, Eftach pi ushpoch harbe letocha. Hal iteni is not a dignified word of please feed me. It's the word you use like stuffing food into a camel. A camel has an unlimited capacity, right? You pour gallons and gallons into his mouth. That's what he meant. Kamoshe katav Rashi, like Rashi says, he used a very unrefined word, indicating, like fill me up, right? Like pour it in, right? Pour it in. Ubiroiso Yaakov makle avotav al zeh ha'inyan hazar. And when Yaakov saw that he was in a very peculiar and inappropriate way, he saw that Esav is belittling his forefathers, makle, kal, right? To belittle, exact opposite of honor, his parents, his forefathers. Kine ma'od she'yirashem kvod Yitzchak alav yoter mima she'yirashem al Yaakov. Basically, what he means is Yaakov was incredibly jealous at that time. Jealous meaning positive jealousy. What do you say? Very indignant. Indignant that Esav should show the correct respect right, when he was so trampling on the family's sensitivities and tragedy. Ki kvod abachor ala tza'ir hu mitzad heyois ha'av mechuker v'nirsham yois alav ki hu reish yisoinu. Because the real law of a firstborn, when he says, he means the fitting behavior for a firstborn, right? That means the nature of a firstborn, the role of a firstborn, right? Is that he should be over the young one, he should be the leader in such a way that the father's image and behavior is copied by him. Mechuker means he is imitating, right, the father, v'nirsham, and is impressed by the father. In other words, the point about the firstborn is that he carries most potently the image of the father, because he's Reshit Olam, he's the first product of the father. He most potently carries the father's identity. The firstborn should be the one, right? And that's why he gets a double share. He's the one who most potently reflects the father in the world. Very beautiful. The Ran's telling you, why does the Torah have a mitzvah that a young brother should honor his older brother? There's an argument whether it means older or oldest brother. But in this case, you're talking about the firstborn oldest brother. The Torah has actually a Torah mitzvah to honor the oldest brother, right? Et avicha ve'eteru. The extra word in the Torah to tell you that you have a mitzvah, the oldest brother should get served first, he should get the primary portion, etc. So a brother has a mitzvah. There's a halachic debate if it means an older sister, and does it mean any of the older siblings? Is it only the oldest one? And if it's a boy, there's a big debate about it. But there's no question that the young brother has a mitzvah to honor the older brother in a way similarly derived from the verses of honoring a parent. So the Ran, why is that? He says, listen carefully, beautiful logic, because the oldest brother carries something of the parent. Beautiful. The Torah says, honor your father, kabed et avicha, right? Says the Gemara, why does it say et? Et is l'ravot. That means there's somebody else like your father. Who's that? Your oldest brother. The Torah is telling you, first of all, you have a mitzvah to honor the older brother. Secondly, it's telling you it's a derivative of your father. It's in the same verse. Says the Ran, indeed, because the oldest brother has an element of the father. Why? Because he inherits more potently, right, the fatherness, so to speak, the being the son that makes the father a father. He bears the imprint of the father as the most potent first expression, first and pure expression of who the father is. So you look to your older brother, you're looking to an emanation, so to speak, of the father in a way.
Somebody gets remarried,
Yes.
he has a first child,
Yes.
but it's not the same potency as from the first marriage.
Yes.
And they would still have to
Look it up in the life area.
And why it is like that? May I ask you, why it is like that? Why the firstborn is so important?
He's telling you because he reflects the father most
Reflect.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a mechuke. He says he is mechuka v'nirsham yoter alav. זאת אומרת, הרושם של האבא זה חקוק בטבע של הבן. כך הוא כותב. That's what he says. That's the spiritual nature, right? B'ni b'chori Yisrael. You are my firstborn. You most potently reflect my values in the world. And therefore, he looks to his older brother, and here's this brother behaving like a fool and with all the indignities and all the exact opposite of his father, right? How would you feel about that? You look up to your older brother. Your father's Yaakov, right? Your father's Yitzchak. Your brother's supposed to be reflecting him in the world most potently. And your brother's a disgrace.
But your father loves this brother.
But he's making a mistake.
And you are the one to point
this
this
out.
out.
Your mother gave you a prophecy, right, about this, and you see what he's done, this brother. You've just been to your grandfather's funeral. While you're at the funeral, the brother's out and having relationships with married women. And killing people and doing idolatry. That's what he's doing today. Right? How would you feel about that? I mean, talk about the bad sheep of the family.
So
he was very
have
indignant.
He wouldn't have seen this without his mother.
Fine, but this is the reality. Indeed, maybe not. And no, I don't think that's right, by the way. I think he saw exactly who his brother was, but his mother had a prophecy to do something about it. And the prophecy wasn't, and she told him to do something about it that seems very devious. That's the challenge.
I presume he must have seen it, otherwise he wouldn't have taken the coin away from him.
I think so.
No, it comes from the house of Lavan. So.
Yes, he knows how to identify problematic behavior. And therefore, כי הוא ולזה יחויב הצעיר לכבד האח הגדול, כמו שדרשו רבותינו זכרו לו. ואחרי היוס עשיו מקלה אבותיו, and now that Esav is belittling his forebears, איך יירשם כבודם בו יותר מיעקב? How do you expect the dignity of Avraham and Yitzchak to be imprinted in Esav more than in Yaakov, which is the way it should be. And that's why when Yaakov saw Esav behaving in this incredibly evil fashion, Acharei asher anochi ma'aleh avotai al rosh tiferet. Now that I am placing my father and grandfather's honor and dignity above my own value in the world, and today I relate to them much more closely than you. In other words, you are not carrying the family tradition and the values the way you should be doing. Right? Sorry, it ends there? You'll have to trust me. Right? Let us continue into the future with our relative relationship to our parents as it is now. It is not fitting that you should continue smelling of the field. And I'm the one who goes in our forefathers' footsteps. It is totally unbecoming and fitting that you should carry the name of our father more than me, when all you're doing is taking that name and grinding it into the dirt.
So you agree, in other words? Based on clearly.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that yet.
He said it to you. He expressed all this.
Yeah.
He expressed it all to Esav like this.
You hear what you want to hear, my friend.
Yes. We all hear and see what we want to hear and see.
All Esav was a good deal. All right, we'll continue. Wish you a wonderful